Okay, so we're going to start looking at how we can apply limits to our search strategy. So we have our search, if you remember, we have all our ibuprofen terms here, which we combined with OR. We then added in our paracetamol concept and combined them with OR. Then we put together our ibuprofen and paracetamol terms in line 9. We then added in our condition, which was fever, and then we added it back into our search with ibuprofen and paracetamol, and we got down to 225. We can now even narrow it down even further because we've also got an age range to think about as well, children. And in Medline and Embase and some of the other databases, you can limit your searches to age ranges, so it negates the need to actually search on these children terms. Now, the easiest way to apply limits is to see the line that you want to apply your limit to and simply go across and click Apply Limits. Now, if I scroll down, you'll see the Limits tab is now highlighted, and we have a selection of limits available for us to, shall we say, play with. So in the date limit, let's start with that. Well, we can choose a date range that we want to limit our research to, because some people may just want the most current research, others may want the last sort of 10 years. So I'm going to go for 10 years. So I'm going to go back to 2005 up to the current year. Then the most common limits that people apply tend to be things like language. And if you click on the language button here, you can see the languages are available in the box on the left. And if you scroll down, you'll see, well, there's English. Now I'm going to take English. That's probably one of the most common limits that are applied. Then you have your age groups here. And if I click on age groups, you'll see this is where your limits for children start to appear. And in Medline, they've broken it down as well. So rather than just being child or adult, they've actually broken up the age groups even further, and they've got newborn, infants, children's, preschool, and so on, right the way up to the very elderly. So I'm actually just going to go for child. So I'm going to take child. Again, you can select as many of these as you want to add to your search. I'm going to stick with child for now. You then have gender. We discussed gender earlier on. It's not the most common type of limit that people tend to use, but useful if you're searching for literature in one gender that is not as prevalent as the literature available in the other. So breast cancer for men, for example, it might be useful to apply there. Then you have your human and animal limit here. Because there are experimental lab-based studies in Medline as well as human-based studies. Now, these are useful certainly within the primary literature. When you're looking for review articles, I suppose there's a debate, how useful are they? Well, it's probably worth having a look to see. In the article type, this is where your study designs are. So remember when we thought about having to put our search together, we thought there are certain types of study designs that best answer certain types of clinical questions. So the question that we're looking at here is a treatment question. So the best types of studies to answer those would be meta-analysis, systematic views, and randomized controlled trials in the primary literature. So because I'm looking for that sort of high levels of evidence, let's go for meta-analysis and randomized controlled trials, because I want to make sure that if there is a systematic review, that these results can be put together in a meta-analysis. So meta-analysis, and if we scroll down, there is a randomized control trial. And you, again, like the other limits, you can select as many of these as you want to. Okay, and in the other limits, well, these are the documents in status, so how far indexed are they within the Medline database, etc. So probably not as useful. Tend to be language, age groups, human or animal, article type and date. These are the ones that tend to be used the most. So once you've selected the limits that you want to add to your search, what you do is you just scroll down, and what you can see actually is that the line of the search that you're going to apply the limits to has appeared in the box. And then we just click on search, and it takes those limits and it adds them into our search strategy for Medline. So when we go back, what we found is that by applying our publication year to the last 10 years, our document type, meta-analysis or RCTs, English language and child, we have 13 results. So that is just one way of using the limits to actually really narrow down your search. Just to point out really that there are two ways to apply the limits. That's the first way to do it, and it's probably the easiest way to do it. You can actually go straight into the limits from down here, but when you go into the limits from down here, in the search box, you must put in the line of the search that you want to apply the limit to, or else it won't work. So it's probably quicker and easier just to select the Apply Limits button at the side. So I'm down to 13. I'm happy with that for my search strategy, and I'm just going to show you quickly how to save the search. Now it might be worth saving it after you've had a look at the results, but while we're here, we'll have a quick look. So in order to save the search, if you scroll back up to the top, you have the Save All function here. And if you click on Save All, it takes you through to the Search Saved option, and you can give your search a name. So I can say ibuprofen and paracetamol in children with fever. And quite often at the start of my searches, I might actually put the user's initials so that if they come back to me for a refinement, for example, I can quickly find it in the search. I mean, it might be a number, whatever way you find easier to track it. You have two options. You can save it and you can save and create alerts. We're going to look at creating alerts a little bit later. So if we just click on Save, it doesn't tell us that we've saved our search. All it does is it flicks us back to our search page, but that search is now saved. And the next time we go into the databases and select one of the databases to search, if you click on Save Searches, this is where you'll find them. We're going to look a little bit more about limits and applying search alerts later on. So we've done our limits, we've got down to 13. The next stage then is to have a look through and scan these results to see which ones are relevant, and we're going to have a look at that when we take a look at the summarise week.